Hi everyone, welcome to the kitchen. Today we're going to make one of my most popular recipes from the website. It's a quick vanilla sponge. And so what we want to do is start with the basics, which are turning on the oven and also preparing the cake tins. I have used one quick cheat, which is the Spray and Cook non-stick spray. And for the bottom, to make sure the cake doesn't stick, I've got some baking parchment and I'm going to show you how to make a quick cartouche. So I have 2 pieces of baking parchment. I'm going to fold them in half again, and again, and again. So I end up with that shape. And I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to measure from the middle of the tin to the edge to make sure that when I cut, it's not too big or too small. So it should fit the tin perfectly. I'm going to open these out and I have 2 circles. And I'm going to gently put those in to each of the tins that they fit perfectly. This is quite a runny cake recipe, so it's important to line the tins. So we move on to the cake itself, and it's not a Victoria sponge. It is something called a hot milk sponge, which takes a lot of the jeopardy out of making a Victoria sponge. So the difference is that we mix together milk and any fat that we're using, in this case butter, and you can substitute non-dairy milk if you prefer. Any of the standard ones would work, and you can use olive oil or a light sunflower oil if you don't want to use dairy. This I'm going to put in the microwave. I'll just leave this to stand and the butter will melt and it will be ready for when I need it at the next stage. We've got our flour here, which is self-raising flour. It's 2 cups of self-raising flour, or 250 grams, and I've added a teaspoon of baking powder, and I've also added a pinch of salt because the butter I'm using is unsalted. So that's ready. In this lovely mixer bowl, I have 340 grams of caster sugar and I've got 4 eggs. And you can do this in a stand mixer, as I'm going to, or you can use a hand mixer, or you can use a whisk if that's what you've got. So there's no stress there. I'm just going to pop this in here and I'm going to put it on quite a high speed. And I want to get soft, fluffy, ribbon stage eggs mixed with sugar, and I'll show you that when it's ready in a minute. It's lovely and pale and fluffy. The eggs and the sugar are very well combined, and when you drip the mix back into the bowl, it leaves a trail. I'm going to start introducing the rest of the ingredients. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a lovely big spoonful of vanilla paste. Now, again, at this stage, you can use a hand mixer, you can use a whisk, you can use a spoon or a spatula, whatever works for you. I'm going to start adding the flour one spoon at a time, or 2 spoons at a time, and start incorporating it into this mix. And then I'm going to add, as you can see, my butter has melted, and I'm going to add a glug of that in to the mixture. I'm trying to keep the movement as light as possible. If you're doing it with a hand mixer or a stand mixer, just turn the speed right down so it doesn't take all the air out that you've incorporated in with the eggs and the sugar. I'm going to add a bit more of the milk and butter, and I'm just going to keep doing that until I've incorporated, so alternating flour and hot milk. So I want it to be well combined but not over mixed to keep the air in. So I've just finished combining the flour and the hot milk into the egg and sugar, and you can see that I've got still a lovely light, pale and fluffy cake mix. So I've still got a lot of air in there, which is fantastic. It's what I'm looking for. And I've got my 2 tins here. Now, if you want to be really scientific about it, you can put them on scales and you can weigh so that each one is the same weight, so that they rise the same and you have 2 identical ones. You can do it by eye if you're not bothered, if it's not too important that they're absolutely both the same size. So I've started with this one. I'm going to add the rest into this cake tin. I think probably, now with this recipe, we're using a 23 centimeter cake tin, but if you wanted to, you can make miniature sponge cakes, or you could use muffin cake tins and muffin papers and make cupcakes out of this mix. If you wanted to make it chocolate, you can substitute 50 grams of the flour for cocoa powder, and you can add fruit to it, you can add spices to it. There's so many different things you can do with this recipe. So now we're going to pop them in the oven, and we'll see you in about half an hour. So here we are, 30 minutes later. I left them to rest in the tins for a few minutes and then very gently released them from their quick release system. I've peeled the paper off the bottom, and so these cakes are now ready for the final stage. So if you've got people coming for tea, this is what I would do. So I'm going to very gently take the bottom layer and pop it. I've got a cake board here. You can order them online, Amazon sells them. And I've put it on my little cake stand. Here I've got some homemade strawberry jam, but you can use any jam you like. And you can also put a layer of buttercream icing in there, or you can put a layer of whipped cream with your jam. I'm simply keeping it simple, and I'm just going to go in with the jam. And to make the jam is equal quantities or slightly less, maybe sugar, depending on how ripe the strawberries are. And there's still some whole fruit in here, which is rather nice. It's sweet, but it's not too sweet. It will go really nicely with the cake. I'm going to gently pick this piece up, the other half, move it onto the top. Voila. So here I've got icing sugar in a little tea strainer, and I'm going to carefully dust the top with icing sugar. Again, you have the option of putting buttercream icing or cream on the top, whipped cream. But in this, for what we need, this is perfect. I have one tiny little finishing touch, which are a few fresh flowers. These are gerbera, very pretty. So this is my choice for decorating the cake, and you might have fresh berries and you want to put raspberries and strawberries and various other things on top of your cake. That's a nice little display for your afternoon tea table. And obviously we're going to go for the money shot, and I'm going to cut into it, and we'll see what it looks like inside. So all we need to do is put the kettle on, and we've got a lovely piece of cake to have with it.